hearing music.
Yeah, I think it's still playing the music from the transition sequence, because that song is quite long. But hey, I'm Zack Wheeler. I am one of the devs from JETT plus Given Time. I did a bunch of design, QA, bug fixes, pretty much anything under the sun on this project that probably touched some aspect of it. We're here playing Given Time, and we're going to be tackling some of the tougher puzzles in this second campaign in JETT. Head on to Richard.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Richard Flanagan, and I helped out a bit on Given Time, helping a little bit with some design support and a little bit of sort of design advising on this amazing thing these guys built, and we're really excited to show some more Given Time. But before we discuss that in too much more detail, Patrick, remind the fine folks who the heck you are and what the heck you do.
So I worked a lot on this project for a long time with Craig over at Super Brothers. It's kind of our baby we chipped away at for years and years. And yeah, it was great having Richard and Zack around among the many others. But I mostly kind of spearheaded the more technical and development side of stuff. So yeah, I've made a lot of stuff in this game. So
as someone who has directly worked with a lot of the stuff that you have implemented in this, it's like there's a lot of things under the hood in this project.
This is a big old game. This is a big old game.
And it's quite impressive.
Yeah, it's a big systemic open world thing, and that's kind of one of the things we're here to demonstrate. Zack's going to play through, and we're going to take a look at part of the game today. But Given Time in particular really shows off a lot of these open world, kind of almost immersive sim-esque elements where, got yourself into some trouble there. I see. It was intentional.
I did not know that trick.
I've done it by accident a couple times, but I didn't realize. I never thought to use it intentionally. But in any case, perfect example. All of these sort of entities and systems mixing together to give the player kind of interesting improvisational ways to move around and to solve these situations, these situational problems that make up the bulk of Given Time. On our last stream, thank you to those that showed up and joined and asked awesome questions. Looks like the chat might be down for some reason. Hopefully that'll get working. On the last time, we played sort of the first, would you call it the first half of the brine wisps, sort of first tier. There's a very introductory tier with 3 brine wisps. And then we played a big chunk, sort of middle chunk, and then today we're going into sort of the latter half that makes up a lot of the scenarios for the last half of Given Time. We'll probably save the last few brine wisps for the final stream because some pretty bonkers sort of narrative stuff starts happening around there, and we want to save that for the final stream. But yeah, so I think that's the plan today, is to dig into what, at least internally, folks here have been calling the hard eggs. There were easy eggs, there were tricky eggs, and now there's hard eggs. And they're especially interesting because they combine so many of the systems. Yeah. So, where are we now, Zack? What island are you taking us for this lovely tour on?
We're kind of hanging around the more fjordy bits of Sosi Massive. We touched a little bit on it during the Parshore, but Given Time kind of as you explore some of the areas out here a little bit more, some of the puzzles come out over in this direction. But also I just like flying around it just because it's got a lot of nice varied terrain that's just fun to scoot across. While also looking quite pretty. Yeah, I was thinking we could probably tackle a couple of the brine wisp row around this area, and then go do a little tour of some of the other islands and grab some. Go and see if we can grab some more row and give them some brine.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
So, in order to do so, how are you? And for those that maybe watched the stream before or played a bit of the game, this is obvious. But for those that haven't, how do you go about finding stuff in this game? Like, how are you going to just find these row, as it were?
Yeah. The primary tool that we're going to utilize is our resonator, which is a kind of like a dual-purpose tool, one that lets us scan objects and pull open some like additional details on them. They'll like let us understand the world a little bit more. And then we're also going to look for these signals and symbols that are associated with each of the individual eggs. Each row has its own symbol, and then they all share this rainbow resonator signal. So we're gonna go tackle this one, which happens to be right over this bridge. And yeah, so this looks like something that we have encountered. We encountered on last stream, but we're a little further a ways inland, so we're gonna have to figure out how to get a brine wisp up here.
Yep. So
this is mostly kind of like a tougher version of the challenges we've done so far of this nature.
And to get a brine wisp over here, the last time we did this, correct me if I'm wrong, we grabbed a brine wisp lure from a lure limpet, those sort of like enormous oyster-like sort of clamshell things tend to be around the coast, right?
Yep. Grab one of those, and then oftentimes if there's a brine wisp around, then they'll just kind of start just chasing you until the lure runs out of juice.
And runs out of juice. That's sort of the interesting factor here, because the last time, those things only last for so long. You've got to get that thing all the way over here. Yeah. And looks like there's some some goblins in the area.
Got
make it that much more interesting.
Shock serpent hanging around here. While we're around here, I'm gonna see if we can get a little bit more information about these, just because. Interesting. Vulnerable vapor. That's a interesting factoid. So if we can grab a little bit more information before we get started here, because these guys are gonna be. They don't relent once they're on you. Okay, respond to dazzle. Try that. Let's see what happens. That was a bad action. That seems like that made it bad.
Yeah, and usually these guys are so chill. Actually, no. They are probably one of the entities that is the most persistent pain in one's arse in the game, but they also come in useful quite a bit too, so.
If we scanned it one more time, we would have seen that dazzling them agitates them, so that would have been good to know. But one of the things that
I'll just say they're persistent, but they're mostly bothered by scramjets.
Mm-hmm.
So like the easy thing is just to turn the scramjets off and they will leave you alone. But now, as we'll see, like we have a limited time to get up the river, so we kind of need our scramjets on. But we'll have these guys kind of decontent. But anyway, go ahead.
So we'll grab a little bit of Sama and then we'll give this a shot, see what happens. Just so we can get these guys off our tail a little bit. So this is another feature where we can flavor up our vapor tank. And now we have Sama in our tank, which can act similar to using the Sama pellets. Let's see if we similar to the Hoppas, looks like these guys like a nice chill Sama bath, and now they're not on us anymore, so we can do what we want to do without being bothered.
Sure are a lot of serpents out here.
There certainly are. I mean, it's almost like this is where they live.
Yeah, this scenario.
The older ones.
Kind of this shape of the scenario has been like basically trying to balance a sweet spot of speed of staying ahead of eels, or sorry, the shock serpents, but not outpacing the wisps following you. Was kind of like a early kind of push-pull gameplay scenario that we wanted to try out for kind of the brine wisp concepts, or the row hatching concepts.
I wonder if you're gonna make it, Zach.
Yeah, well, looking at the timer up on the right-hand corner, another fun fact is this line that's going up slowly, it indicates how long you have left.
I didn't know that. That's so cool.
And I think their color also changes a bit as you start running out of time. Oh, but we've got a heavy row.
Yep. Kick it down
like to call them soccer eggs.
The soccer eggs.
Don't fly over them.
Yeah, those were a lot of fun. So it's interesting. Definitely, I can see that you guys did another pass on some of that feedback once eggs have, or once the fluoro have hatched, and it's really nice. Like I guess I did a lot of testing a bit earlier when we were kind of figuring out the sort of ins and outs and the balancing, but it's nice to see some of that AV polish. Looks really cool.
Yeah, I think we ended up getting into we got those fluoros into a state where they actually have both states. And over time they kind of like, I think it's like you can find a lot of them are like visible in the main campaign as like small buds.
Yep.
And then over the course of Given Time, the ones that become like available will then like bud into full ones during the specific section that you're in. And they have little animations and all that jazz. And I think after we hatch as well, they'll enter into another state that's kind of like less visually intensive. That one in particular, during testing, we found that like people would come across it, and then like during the initial like easy egg section, or like the introductory egg section, and get very confused because you can't really do anything with them until they're actually hatched. So getting in like those buds was like really important, because we had to make sure that it's like, hey, these are interesting, but they're not yet. They're not here for yet. A little bit of foreshadowing.
Gotcha. Okay, that's a cool one. You made it look easy.
Yeah.
Definitely took me a couple tries the first time I did it.
You can definitely do it without Sama tricks. There's kind of various ways to approach it, but I guess, introducing Sama kind of just lets you bypass
a little bit of the some of the challenge there. But
yeah,
it's not required to beat the challenge by any means. You can do it to, like, if you can get up there and keep in front of the eels or the shock serpents. It's not too bad. It's just, it's a little tricky. You gotta start mastering the jet's controls a little bit more.
I can see that Caro is on the radio.
Oh yes.
She's your biggest fan. She's telling you to keep it up. Crushing it.
Seems like we've been doing a good job.
Zach, before we go much further, do you want to try shutting down and starting the stream again, just in case we can get comments working for folks?
Yes. Let's give that just one sec.
So bear with us for a moment, folks. We're going to just give this a quick try to see if we can get the comments up and running, in case there's any settings we forgot, or if there's something going on with the Steam servers. Because we'd love to have your input.
We are currently offline. Still recording, but we're offline for a sec. I'll leave it offline for like a couple moments.
Yeah, I wonder what's going on with the chat.
Yeah, me too. It looks like the Steam servers might be having a little bit of trouble. If it's still having trouble next stream, we could try doing a restream or a stream to Steam and Twitch. I'm gonna hit the start button again.
Okay, let's do it. Yeah, I mean, I don't see why any settings would have changed. There's no checkbox or anything, I assume.
Yeah, no, I'm not too much on the back end over here, so I'm guessing there's just a little bit of a...
Steam hiccup.
Yep. And this feature is definitely, the Steam broadcast is definitely a beta feature still.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay, we should be back up.
Yep. Looks like we're up and running. Good stuff. Unfortunately, the chat still seems to be a little busted, but that is what it is.
Yep, that is what it is. So
that said, if anyone watching wants to hit us up on Twitter with questions, more than happy to answer stuff there.
So we'll keep a lookout on various locations for questions. I think it's getting a little late, so I'm gonna actually go hit the hay. Rest of the morning. I think I'm gonna tackle the Swift Hector on Sosi Massive. This is one of my favorites.
Yeah, this is a good one.
Oop, I slept till midday by accident. Well,
Is the stream up
should be.
for you? Is it up for you, Patrick? Do you see it?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
We'll take double naps. We're really tired.
I'll take your word for it. I don't see the stream at all now. Clearly some stuff going on with Steam side.
Well, we'll just keep on playing.
Yep. So, I guess, I don't know how organic this was or if there was a specific plan when you guys were building the different scenarios, but there seems to be enough sort of types, scenarios where there's more timing oriented things, scenarios where there's more threats, scenarios where there's a little bit, it's more about agility, scenarios that are really more about thinky scenarios, like brain teasers, sort of like puzzles. And did this sort of just, would this happen organically, or did you guys kind of have a map where you're like, okay, we're going to balance these many sort of thinkies versus this many sort of twitchy things, this, that, the other? I'm kind of curious.
Yeah, I mean, I think Zack can probably go into more detail on the later refinements and kind of the building some of that stuff out. But I think broadly, it was just kind of our intent to explore all the kind of different mechanics and their various permutations. And I mean, also just you don't want to kind of do the same thing over and over again, so we always wanted everything to have kind of a little different twist going on. So, but yeah, Zach, you were probably a little more in the mix with kind of the more broad designing of the row in breadth, so I don't know if you want to touch on anything specific there. I guess maybe it was you and...
It's me, Randy, and Angelos that spent a good amount of time kind of like, essentially like figuring out that balance. We had a whole bunch of different spreadsheets over the course of time that we used to kind of track the different types of eggs, or row, and we essentially just like tried to make sure that there was enough variety, that there's like, you know, a little bit of progression where it's like, okay, we're gonna, in the earlier sections we introduce concepts, in the later sections we combine those concepts and make it so that you can discover the different puzzle pieces around. If you happen across one in a tougher section, that it's like you haven't quite come across all of like the mixed concepts yet. Oh, we got an OBS crash. So yeah, we're mixing together like different puzzle concepts together, and just kind of like trying to figure out like, okay, we want to make sure that there aren't too many things that are just straight skill challenges. There's some that are more like investigative challenges, and then you know there's a bunch of work that had already been kind of done previously before you know I hopped onto the project, and then we just kind of started iterating on that whole process and or like on each of the different row and looking at them as a whole, but also as them individually.
Cool. Speaking of which, you said you wanted to try a one of the Swift Hectors?
If I remember correctly, we've got one out here in a very familiar bog if you've played the Far Shore.
Yeah, I do like that bog. That's a cool bog.
Yeah, and these guys went through a lot of iteration.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, there was a point where there was a weird like hoop that you launched out of to start the the race per se. So, but I think they play a pretty key role in kind of what we wanted to include as just kind of, I mean, the locomoting the jet is a big part of the game, but we don't really like, you don't get a chance to feel like it's a racing game very much, but that's kind of the main role these guys play, is to kind of, you gotta keep pace with them. And the other nice thing that we have them do is just kind of give you a bit of a tour of the landscape. So like you tend to go by some points of interest that you might not have stumbled across and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah, I found this one in particular was a really nice sort of summation of a lot of Soci Massive. Like, you know, after doing the Far Shore campaign and then spending a bunch of time here, you start to become really familiar with this space. When you first land on the planet, everything is terrifying and huge, but like I know this like place like the back of my hand. So this always felt like almost like not a victory lap, but this like, hey, this is all this stuff you've done and seen, and it's a cool vibe.
I think if remember correctly, like Anj and I were kind of working on this one in particular. We were kind of thinking of it as that kind of nature, especially with putting it starting over or like getting the bog start area. And having it go through some of those woodsy areas that you start off in. I think the like early chapters of the Far Shore, because that's actually the same path that you take when you're following, if you follow Wu and Vic after the Swift or the regular first Hector encounter in the campaign.
Yeah, I mean, we did, there was a lot of back and forth on tuning these different courses, I think. I don't know. Because everyone there's a broad range of people's abilities in terms of, being able to pilot quickly and navigate kind of tricky terrain. So.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Yeah,
there's probably like a little bit of rubber banding going on.
That was a thing.
But it's,
I remember like Chris Mayer and I worked on a bit where it's like it's a little bit of back and forth between the two of us getting you know, because we don't want them to get like super far out ahead of you, but we also don't want you to like zip past them. So for the most part, they keep at a constant speed unless you get close, and then they just kind of like keep ahead.
Yeah, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, you can come back and revisit these guys, even after you've hatched their egg, and just kind of fly the courses again.
Yep.
And they're, man, are there, I think at one point there were more of these, maybe I shouldn't be talking over the cutscene stuff, but it's probably fine. I think there was more of these than there were Row at one point, but I forget how much we pared that back in the end. Because there was always a bit of confusion, like if people were expecting to kind of get a real reward and they didn't, it was kind of a letdown.
So, like, I think a bunch of the balance that happened with that is every single one of, like, these Oricolos, I think these shells are, or these, like, colo shells. Anytime you see one of these, there's likely going to be a swift vector inside. I think that's true. I'm not 100% certain, but and each one will have a swift vector with a brine wisp row in them. When you first encounter them, or when you when the row is available. You won't be able to wake anyone up inside unless the row is available. Then after you've hatched them, you can then re-race the courses.
This course in particular, I really like this sort of section at the beginning through the trees. This one is challenging. I mean, Zack, you designed and iterated on this one a lot, and I think I provided some non-trivial notes as well. But once this one got dialed in, this one is so cool. I really like this one, and this is you just giving it another go. Yeah.
This is just will be real.
You might have beefed it.
We'll see. I might be able to catch up because you have a little bit of wiggle room to kind of catch back up before they decide to zip away. But we'll probably jump out of this partway through because I think I might head over to Ozu.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think you want to do Shores or Ozu next?
Oh, it's up to you. There is one, and just before the stream ends, there is a location that I have questions. No one's ever talked to me about this location, but let's save it for maybe later in the stream.
Okay.
I'm very curious.
I'd be very.
So I'd say go wherever. Pop over to Ozu. Yeah.
I think actually I'm gonna go Shores. I think I'll do Shores because there's one. There's only one. I think there's only one more row over on Shores. It's kind of like because there's only one there during the middle section, and there's one there in the later section. And this one is, one of my favorites. It's not like my most favorite, but it is one of my favorites.
Yeah, and another that had a lot of work.
Oh yeah, there's originally I think like an idea that I don't think there was one there, and then Angelos and I were like talking, and I think Randy may have also been involved in that conversation. I can't remember. It's been like this must have been like maybe 2 years ago at this point. Okay, we'll see you later, Swift Hector. We're gonna go to Shores. There's just a lot of iteration getting it to feel like it fit well into the environment.
Gotcha.
And it was also, tuning to make it not feel frustrating. I guess that was kind of one of the big things I remember is, I don't know. It's a tough line to balance, like how precise, like piloting skill that you require for these kinds of challenges. And ultimately we kind of sided on like we didn't want things to be like super precise or like punishing for not getting things exactly right. So there's a lot of tuning to get stuff to kind of feel in the right ballpark.
Yeah, you're dealing with a lot of analogness with the flight model, so it's probably you're kind of defining thresholds, like where you want stuff to hopefully land. And as you'll often see, even after many hours of piloting this game, you may run into a surprise or what have you. Oh yeah, this bad boy. Cool.
You still make mistakes. It happens. Like I slammed into a tree and I put like probably over 1,000 hours into this flight model.
Yeah.
I hear a familiar track fading into the background here. Might be the, I think... Yeah. So I believe it's the Shores music. It's some of the music that plays on Shores during the campaign. I think that's where it plays, but we've got a signal coming from up here on this iceberg that I don't think we're going to be able to get up to normally, so we're going to have to... How are we going to get up there?
Looks like trouble to me.
Yeah, we got these guys too, which are...
So did these evil eyes make an appearance in the Far Shore? I forget.
They do.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're...
Mostly, yeah, there's kind of your first encounter with Tor as you're leaving. They kind of wake up at that point. I think they're somehow tied to Tor's presence.
Well-timed
I think
dash.
you also see them on Cobb towards the end.
Yeah. I think they might show up in a couple areas after the...
Oh, that's right. They are in the channels of God. That's right.
Yeah, they kind of like show up there, and there's like a couple of them that'll show up on, I think, Ozu after a certain point if you opt to go do like some of the free roaming sections. Okay.
Yep.
So, just scanning them, but it looks like we've got a couple of platforms that we can jump across.
Yeah, man. There's some jumps.
We're gonna do
Get some ramps.
Sweet ramp jumps.
Yeah, and I think this one is kind of designed where you can go fast or go slow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where, because you kind of, I mean, the big thing is the Ocloids will shoot at you if you don't do stuff or don't evade. So, like, you can kind of hide behind these barriers going slow, or you can just kind of roll past as they fire.
That's a little bit of a pro tip. If you scan them enough, they'll mention that you can kind of like dodge them using a side roll. Forward rolls also work, but if you dodge right when their beam gets small, that's kind of like the timing window to look at for getting out of the wind.
Nicely done.
I think there's even like a dazzle action. Right?
Yep.
It's not something that I've never really made much use of.
Yep.
How do you dazzle them?
I will demonstrate as soon as this day.
Well, they're eyeballs, right? So you right?
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can demo that a little bit of that ability or that functionality.
But yeah, I never really thought about, because I'm not sure how long the dazzle lasts. It might be long enough that you could kind of preemptively make this a lot easier by running on dazzle.
But then you have the time pressure of like you have to get through here.
Szeroki zoli resto
Yeah.
te spajso. Uwa straszglin kamak font noi katsuri.
Anyway, glad there are a lot of kind of alternate approaches to these things.
It's interesting. We're getting some admissions from the Observer. There. So I think we set ourselves up with this. We can get that. There we go.
There you go. Chilled out.
Yeah. So he's they're pretty
Good and dazzled.
I think that's it for.
Be a trick I'll use for next time.
They're a little. These ones in particular are like a little bit of an awkward position to dazzle, just because they're more meant for, in terms of like a pure design sense, they're more meant to. What's this? We've got a. Oh, we did it correctly. This is an interesting one. These symbols generally are available once you've encountered them for the first time in a session. They'll stay visible no matter what island you're on.
We're back. keep everyone on their toes. I really enjoy the different states of the ocean. Like when it gets really wavy like this, it just feels so. Okay, here we are. This is what we're talking. This is the place.
Ah.
This.
Oh,
Talk to me about this lava waterfall. Okay, I thought it was on Soci Massive. Okay.
It is.
Yeah.
We are here.
Okay. How did this happen? And were there plans? Like, this is such a specific kind of visual idea, and I'm just like,
Well, so I don't know exactly what the specific plans are, but I could give my what I think the plans may have been once upon a time, and then Patrick could potentially confirm if he knows.
okay.
or is it a really, really nasty inside joke and we don't want to say it on the stream? I have no idea.
So, from my perspective, so there's like a bunch of stuff in the back here. There's like some ridge lines and everything. This feels like something where it's like, this could have been really interesting, been an interesting place to get out on foot, but we never really kind of got there. And if I remember correctly, there was at one point a brine wisp row just like placed loose behind this lava waterfall. So I'm wondering if there's like used to be like an on foot puzzle here to release the row. I could be very wrong about this.
Yeah. Sounds like some possible deep lore, deep questions.
Yeah,
to be.
this is to be honest, this is a question best fielded by Craig.
Fair enough.
My sense is it's a like strong visual concept that like is a cool thing that exists, and it serves as a landmark, so it kind of feeds into the landmarks system and kind of that kind of discoverability of like points of interest in the terrain. But yeah, I'm not clear on any like actual gameplay purpose that was ever envisioned for it, but it wouldn't be surprising if like Zach, you guys in the kind of egg breadth department kind of were like, we should put an egg behind there, and there was an egg for a while or something like that. So
it's certainly I do enjoy coming over here because it is it's a cool site, and it does actually help a lot with like this, making this area feel a little bit more distinct.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's see if we can track down this double wing symbol.
Just a shout out to the folks that are watching and the folks that might watch if this becomes pre-recorded later. Thank you. I asked the community to help out with reviews last stream, and we definitely got a couple more reviews, so thank you very much. It really makes a difference. And if you want to keep leaving reviews, please do. Okay, it's good for the Steam algorithm. We'd love to get more in there so more people can discover the game. So keep it up. Thank you.
It seems we've got a row in the grasp of I cannot remember what their official names. We call them the Hawk Kolos. Do we know? I cannot remember.
Well, let's get close and give it a scan.
Oh, that's always a tricky bit. They're generally pretty high up. So we can use my glide prowess.
Okay, they're Orn Kolos.
Orn Kolos. They're very ornery.
There you go. Dad joke.
Can I do this without upsetting the nearby man?
Oh, are you high enough? You gonna be able to grab it?
Might be able to. Not quite. Let's go back down and see if we can get it high enough. We got it.
There you go. Well
Nice.
done. That was
it's a pretty sneaky approach.
Yeah, that was.
It's usually hard to get them from below like that.
Yeah, it's a little,
well done.
little tricky. You have to. Fortunately, I know the landscape pretty well, so like I can navigate well. Also looking at that, but it's definitely tricky to pull that kind of stunt off. If I remember correctly, this person's path, or this hawk's pathing, kind of like flies around here for a bit, and then there's like a location of another row that's over by Ozu that they visit shortly as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Making making good progress.
Yep. Chuck really tearing through it.
Oh yeah.
So we got a few more here.
We got one more on Sosi Massive, but we're gonna save that one for later because it's a bit more of a doozy.
Okay.
That one
Some
combines...
heavy duty ones on Ozu too.
Oh yes. There. So we got Cov.
Oh, we got some on Cov now. We didn't in the last chunk, did we? There were no Cov eggs.
Yeah, those ones are fresh.
So
I think they were...
internally, you guys called Cov COVID, and I think a lot of Cov's development happened during COVID. So it's COVID, right? It's like an icy wasteland where not a lot is alive, and it's lonely over there. Like it's not a subtle metaphor. Am I spoiling it, or?
I mean, the name predates.
Oh, does it?
The virus.
Okay.
And so it was kind of unfortunate that and I don't know, if you do like look up proper pronunciation of that word, it kind of comes out more like Cov than COVID, but I think like kind of both pronunciations are valid. But the one that we used internally before and for a long time was the same.
That's
as
a wild
so
coincidence.
There's a lot of interesting coincidences that JETT developed.
And JETT had a long enough development to have a lot of coincidences.
There you go.
Okay, so we've got one right there. That's looking a little bit further out. We've got this one that's a little closer, and then there's one down here.
Yeah, these are some challenging ones.
Yeah. I
remember Ange and I's discussion about one of these, which we'll do. I think that one we'll do last year, just because it's a bit of a gauntlet. But we were discussing it's like our original iterations of it were really hard to accomplish. The the griefers around here really used to be incredibly aggressive. Oh, that was a... The geolithic mass may have just vanished. It's got some quantum mechanics going on there.
Yeah.
We'll not worry too much about that. But looks like we've got some... Oh, we've got a geolithic mass here. We're going to have to figure out... Okay, we have to open this. How are we going to do that? I think we've got some resin.
Got some resin there.
Let's grab this and zip about and see if we can find an ion pool to activate this with. Also, fun fact: you can have your scramjets on with heavy payloads, but only if you're releasing vapor at the same time.
Yep.
And I think it eats vapor like at like a 3 times speed or something. So like I just went down from like 40 vapor to like 4 or something along those lines. I'm not seeing a whole lot going on over here.
Which is a pretty important tip in at least the way I was the first couple times I solved this particular puzzle. That's a pretty important tip.
We're gonna ditch the resin for right now. We're gonna go do some additional exploration.
Sorry, my cat is joining the stream. If I don't give him attention, then he'll become very annoying. So he'll.
Hello, cat. What is the cat's name?
Taco, and it's his birthday. And
happy birthday, Taco!
In a couple weeks, but he's turning 20. That's a big deal.
Oh, that's impressive for a cat. You've lived a very long and hopefully good life.
Oh yeah.
I imagine good.
Yeah. He's had a good.
Oh, I spy some resin and an ion pool.
And shelter, which might come in handy.
Yeah, we're getting towards twilight, but I'm gonna push forward with this and see if we can do this before the cloaks glow or before the gloaming's glow affects us.
So So you're gonna grab this resin, and you're gonna try and get it on that other side, right?
Yep.
Because
I think the egg is over there. It's.
well, you know, and
yeah,
I know.
it's right there.
But you know what I mean. That's the idea. So you're gonna power up that resin and pop over, kind of blind. Shoot over there.
Oh, we
blind.
got a brute hanging out with us today. That's fun. Okay, let's get up this slope. Try and.
There you go. Yeah, you got it.
I'm gonna do this the safe way instead of the trick way. Ah!
Ion pool. That'll make the next one easier.
Let's talk about Neo increasing our vapor capacity because I.
You need it.
Yeah, we're gonna need it later.
Okay.
Use the dazzle tool to get rid of these copies to make it a lot easier.
Okay, now we're talking.
There we go.
Right. See one of those wisp twisters.
Yeah, we got two going. It's a rare sight.
Making
Yeah,
good progress.
kind of similar to the Swift Hectors. The wisps kind of
Two twists.
laying out twisters, and then you can go meet them, and they'll kind of take you for a run usually. Oh, these feel like big twisters.
Yeah.
I think there's like a system at play where on the nodes that can spawn twisters. So a little peek behind the curtains. All of these twisters are spawned, I think, generally at a specific node that represents a flight path that a brine wisp could potentially follow. And during Twilight, they'll spawn these twisters at these like start and end nodes.
Kill some phosphenes.
Yeah, but it's not a sight that I'm used to seeing. It's pretty cool to just see like half a dozen wisps chilling at a big twister.
Oh yeah,
it's nice.
It's cool. And sometimes they'll also like split off, and you can probably find, and they'll like kind of like take you on a tour of the island, and they'll be like kind of like a random tour.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at before, where they serve a similar role to Swift Hectors of kind of showing you some sights and kind of introduce you to that concept way back at the beginning of the Far Shore, but it's something that also exists kind of out in the open world.
We are being chased by a. We're gonna disrupt this phosphine because it's disrupting me. So, fun fact: you can kind of stun them for a short bit by vapor void or doing a vapor void out.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's like kind of like since they're kind of creatures of light, the idea there is like it's kind of disrupting their visual the visual aspect of them, and they're kind of like, I don't know what to do. I think their science entry says something about that, and if not, oops.
I don't think it does. I didn't know that, or I didn't never notice.
We can
That's cool.
Let's double check that actually, because I'm kind of curious now.
And yeah, this is a section that, in Given Time, you obviously we've played the game a million times. Oh, there you go. It's done by Vapor Void
I
Out.
think this was something that I added like a little bit like towards the end of my time on the project. Just I think that may have been the case because I was just going through and making sure everything was consistent.
Yeah, there was a lot of work going into those entries to make sure they all kind of, because there was a lot of iteration on the exact mechanics throughout the project, and it gets tough to keep all that stuff in sync. So.
Oh yeah.
But it will become a really handy tool, almost kind of a requirement in Given Time, is going in and taking a look at all of your research, seeing where you're kind of missing stuff, and you'll stumble onto a particular brine wisp sort of situation, and you'll be like, oh, okay, well, I've scanned the thing. It says it's akin to this. Okay, what do I know about this? Okay, this is part of this. So, yeah, when in doubt, check your findings. There's a wealth of information there.
Oh yeah, there's a ton of info in there, and it's just like, if there's an entity nearby that section, read up on it. Okay, so I think we'll go tackle this, the tent egg, as I like to call it, or I internally called it in my head.
Yeah, the symbols get their own nicknames. Yeah, and I was doing kind of a series of JETT Dev Twitter posts, and then holidays and launch kind of made it hard to keep that up. But I'm intending to get back to it, and kind of one of the big kind of next steps on the journey is all of this science info in general. Like that was kind of, there's two main thrusts that we kind of went into in the next part of the story, and kind of one of them was narrative side stuff, and one of them was the science tool in general, and just like that went through a ton of iteration as well, but kind of the main emphasis was just to like give you tools to understand the affordances of the things in the world in a kind of solid way, because especially early on, kind of make those affordances understood in a more like in the world kind of AV way.
Yep.
So just having kind of almost like a debug view of like, these are the things that can happen, and also kind of see feedback when they're responding to like see that reflected in the things. So you can kind of like see what's going on behind the scenes, and but not just a debug view, have it kind of as a feature for the player to tap into. So
I'm a big proponent of the debug tools that become gameplay features. I think that's it's like, oh,
yeah,
this thing that we made is fun to, like, if this is more fun to do it debug, then it should be part of the game kind of deal. Oh wow, I wasn't sure you made it around there fast enough.
Yeah,
Well
I happened to get it around just in time, like as the first one was deactivating, I got the last one in.
So this is the second of these sort of bulb style puzzles, and it amps up the difficulty by having the occloids in there.
And if you're not careful, you can also get shock serpents on your tail too. And visibility is a little wonky here, and then compounded on top of all of this, it's like the position of these isn't like a pure circle. It's like you've got to actually kind of like weave between spaces.
Yeah. And all the occloids. It's a good kind of ramp up, and this is kind of one of the ones that came in the breadth pass, if I'm kind of not mistaken. Whereas, like, I think early on we probably only had like the one in the bog.
Yeah,
but it was definitely kind of an underutilized mechanic. So I'm glad we found a couple more places to make use of it.
I think Angelos were like, this is a cool mechanic. We need to like bring this in more locations.
This whole bay in general, I found you guys achieved an interesting density of eggs that are kind of in a way on top of each other, but also they aren't fighting each other. You know what I mean? Like, this is like one of those scenarios that feels very much like, actually, I would say there's so many sections of the game that feel like their own little ecosystem, but this bay in Ozu really feels like one of those zones where it's like, okay, and there's a lot of intersecting systems that, again, I'm oversimplifying. There's always intersecting systems, but as a player, I feel like they were always very visible to me. Seeing these systems sort of intersect, where you've got griefers, you've got occloids, you've got shock serpents, you've got resin, you've got ion pools, you've got the things that the other pools, which I can't remember the name of for this exact moment.
Inhibitor spumes, I think is what they're called.
There you go. Inhibitor spumes, and Anyway, there's a lot intersecting. There's a lot of Venn diagrams happening in here, and it's cool. I mean, it also gets challenging, for
Yeah.
sure.
This area in particular is also like one of the more tense areas of the Far Shore campaign. Just because like when you're originally like zipping around on Ozu, it's like one of the first times they kind of like, you know, let off to go explore a bit, and you're trying to like solve a puzzle, but you can go do other things if you want, and it's a little less like, oh hey, go do this thing. And so it's like this area is here, and you can come here, but it's also very easy to like startle a griefer, and it's like you have like those guys, like, I know all of the tools to utilize against them, but they're not friendly and they're not easy to deal with at times.
Mm-hmm.
And when you first encounter, or like this would be like I think technically the second area that you're likely to encounter them in the game. And so like in the campaign, it's like you come here. Oftentimes people would come here, they'd be like, "Oh no," and they'd leave. And
oh yeah, it's an intense area for sure.
That's the vibe that it was always intended to have. And I think like the birth of it, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot that was kind of concept driven, but mechanically at least, it was kind of introduced when we were trying to like work on the kind of repair loop, and how we kind of wanted this area to be the risk reward area where like there's a lot of density of good stuff, but you kind of have to be prepared to deal with spooky stuff as well. Yep. And it's always had this kind of spooky vibe to it. And like even in the past, like I think like the griefer music implementation at the time was just kind of like the moment you kind of stepped into this stormy area, it was like the music changed to be like, okay, it's spooky time. Mm-hmm. So
I think like,
yeah, I'm glad it has such a strong vibe to it.
I remember one of the last passes that I was doing of just like general like entity things in the game was like, I had noticed that there was a bunch of like, essentially like things that should have been spawning whelks along the coast all over the place here, that at some point, because of game dev, ended up like not, it ended up like stopping working. And so like one of the things was I intended to do was to bring back a lot of the whelks that you can find around on the coast here to make it even more of like a little bit of more rewarding. Yeah. There's a lot of goat bloom everywhere, which makes this place already like a rewarding location, but adding those in, it's like, especially with the necrotic goat bloom up top, being able to ping all the stuff, it makes this place really light up, especially through the fog, which is like pretty cool looking, in my opinion. Anyway.
Yeah. So speaking of griefers, how do you feel about the void out stun trick? I don't know. I feel like I have opinions, but
so
it does, like early on, the griefers, like I think you either had to use like an environmental tool or just do like some really fancy piloting to kind of deal with them. And we introduced the void out as like kind of a more like panic button type way to deal with them, and I think it works really well. But I sometimes miss once you kind of learn the trick, it feels almost too easy as long as you keep that stockpile of vapor around. But
yes, and I would say yes, and in a lot of situations, but I'd say here on Ozu, this particular bay, we haven't tackled this egg just yet. I mean, Zack will probably get started. I feel like this is a scenario where you need all the vapor you can get. So wasting some of that vapor on a griefer is really costly, because you might need some of that to make it over here, as we're going to see. So I think, I don't know, it never felt like maybe it was my game, the way I play the game, but it never felt I never felt like it was cheap. I never felt like it cheapened the situation.
I
Yeah.
have a
Yeah.
mixed.
And I'll just say, like, oh yeah, go
I mean,
ahead.
I
Zach.
have mixed feelings about it. Whereas, like, I actually really like it being a tool that you can use because it lets us like release flavored vapor void out when we have like a Sama in. So like, it actually gives us a lot bigger of an area if we have a bunch of eels on us. It will more likely hit the eels. And I think for that kind of mechanic, it's like 100% like good because it's a
Yeah, I like the void out in general.
yeah. But with the mantas, I do enjoy the like idea of it being like using environmental tools or using skill piloting to kind of get away from griefers. But it's one of those things where I also like having a tool on my belt to be able to deal with them. As an experienced player, I know exactly when and how to deploy them, but it's not really that easy to like hit a manta because they're not always directly behind you. If anything, I feel like there's probably some balance stuff that we could tweak to make it more interesting, where it's like, well, what
The game is out. The game
is out, so it's like, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's getting into the weeds.
I think it's in a good place. And my secret is I just don't do it.
I mean,
and basically, like, I worked on it so long without having that ability that, like, I usually forget about it until I'm, like, in a really bad situation. I'm like, oh, yeah, I can just void it. Anyway.
Oftentimes, I do try and use environmental tools, but, like, for this one in particular, where we have to... while we were talking, I was, like, scoping out the area. We have to get this resin from here all the way down to the other end of Stormy Bay.
Yeah.
And
yeah, it's a tricky thing.
It's a pretty...
that resin's about to pop on you. So are you going to make it?
Nope.
No.
Oh,
okay.
Whoa.
That's a weird thing.
That's, yeah.
But luckily I was not able to
explosion.
grab that again. Double the explosion, double the fun.
Double explosion. Well, the timing was right there. So probably you guys discovered some new systemic behavior just now.
But yeah, so let's go on with this. I think when you had originally played this, you had to use the vapor scramjet trick. With later iterations, you don't actually have to use that, but you do still have to use the speed boosts that are not as, if you're not as familiar with them, like you have to actually do forward rolls and play with scramjet heat here in order to get from pool to pool. Otherwise, this thing will explode before you actually are able to get to the end.
Yep. And if you're feeling really bold, like I have a feeling you're going to blow up that, it's probably the way to do it is to blow up that geolithic mass to your left right there. But if you're feeling really bold, you can make it all in one shot. You can do it. Oh, yes. That's
so that's a
harrowing.
I think I'm gonna go for the checkpoints.
Was the only way, and it was like the most frustrating puzzle.
Yeah, because it's like as soon as you mess up, so like we introduced essentially like ion pools and resin sources as like checkpoints throughout this puzzle, just to make it so that you can kind of get through this. But every time you activate a checkpoint, you're also going to activate a griefer on you. Right. So it's like there's a bit of like a give and take there, where it's like, okay, I'm going to have to like get away from this griefer, then we have to scoot around and just kind of like wait for it to go away, and then we continue on. But now we have an additional checkpoint in case we mess up.
Yeah, it's super key.
Yep, for sure.
And it's one of those things that like.
But if you're a speedrunner and you're feeling spicy, this is that. This is definitely that.
If you're feeling real like spicy, I could show you the real spicy way to do this.
Isn't there one kind of checkpoint that is a inhibitor? Is that the right?
Yeah. So there's one spot in the middle where you have to use your resin to get the inhibitor stream. You can skip through that, but it is a lot harder, and you have to utilize a lot of the tools at your disposal to kind of like deal with that.
Yeah.
I did not wait long enough for the manta to get off of me, so we're just gonna, you know.
Yeah. Which this is where
a large vapor
the
tank.
void out is very, very helpful.
Mhm.
Yeah, with lots of
Yep. You got to have a solid tank.
That said, you can also there are like scattered around. There are anti-manta tools, as we internally called them.
Yep.
But they're not always around, so the vapor tank is necessary to a degree.
Yeah, yeah, and when you've got the heavy payload, it really limits your options in terms of dealing with them. So
I think
Mm.
we're out of their sight, so they're probably the Throng are back.
You're gonna probably wake up another one here.
the Throng really like the volatile resin.
Boom.
I mean, it's one of those things where they like literally live in. They're the ones that generating the resin, so let's hide from.
They want it back.
They're like, oh, you're exploding it. Please no. Okay, we've.
Yeah, kind of I think it's the home stretch. So, but yeah, I'm really happy with how this one turned out. It was.
Me too. It's one of those ones that like. There was a lot of uncertainty after a point because it was in a really, really frustrating state. But it's like there at one point, but it's like there's a challenge here that's like really worth it.
Oh yeah, it's super exciting. Like once all the bits sort of lined up, this one is, and we're making it look super calm, taking breaks, talking about it, sipping on teas and coffees as Zack sort of meanders his way across this. But yeah, this is a pretty challenging and harrowing vibe when you're doing it for the first time.
I think I'm gonna go the right path. Because there's actually like two different paths that you can take to do this.
Oh, are you?
I am. But we bust up and we blew up the. I think that may have been one of the shock serpent sacks.
Mm.
Yeah.
They can do some damage.
They do some damage, and then they also tend to aggravate the volatile resin. Ooh, we got a spot over here that I kind of want to stun a manta in just because it's fun.
So you're gonna take the route on the right.
Yes. This
Got
one is a little bit more. It's less finicky in terms of controls, but it also has, a little bit more risk. Whereas, like, you can go up and over that.
That's how I would usually go. Oh, I see what you mean. You are really down to the wire here. Yeah, that was close.
It's a tricky bit. Ah, the old friend, the Throng. Oh, we blew up against. Ooh.
Oh,
I dropped that.
So close.
That is so close. We're gonna use some speed. Well, actually, hello, Creeper. Come here, please. Oh, I love the explosion, like the sound effects and the visual effects that were implemented on the dandelions. It just makes it real satisfying to blow up a bunch of them all at once.
Yeah, the polypops.
Yeah, polypops is what they're called on the science side.
It was fun working on them.
Oh, did you lose it again?
I'm gonna go up and over. That area, I keep blowing up my resin. We're gonna do this the fast way.
Yeah, and I think especially if you use the go blue.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to kind of handle, especially if you're running at full speed. Like,
what did you power it up?
Did you?
You didn't power it up?
I don't think
power it up. Oh no!
You burnt all that vapor.
I burnt all that vapor without powering it up. That's unfortunate. Well, And the mantis awake now. Well, we're in trouble.
Everything has gone wrong. But thankfully, part of the design of this space, there's a ton of vapor to pick up if and when you need it.
Oh, yeah. Each one of these torflues gives, I think, like 3 or 4, especially if you roll through them. So that's another pro strat. If you roll around the same time as you pick up the vapor, you generally will pick up additional vapor.
Is that? I was going to say, is that by design? Maybe
Yep.
I don't want to know. Yeah?
That is by design.
Whoa, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did not know
Almost
that.
any time there's a chance for nuance, we opted to add some nuance.
That is wild.
And
Yeah, that's like one of the trickiest parts with this game is like, how do you communicate aspects of all that nuance? And some of it you just kind of have to let people discover.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm discovering stuff on this stream, apparently.
Yeah, I think it's like 2 to 3 times the amount of vapor that you would normally get from a source.
Oh, man.
That's pretty nice.
yeah.
Okay,
Go for it.
final
Do
stretch. Let's do the full vapor, bro.
Yep, you can keep your speed up. Boom.
Oh, that one is still a challenge.
Yep.
Yep. But yeah, it's a good one.
Oh.
Okay. So,
I did
who's
mention
left?
I'm gonna show you a little bit of I'm gonna show you the pro strats for that egg real quick.
Okay.
Pro strats.
If I remember correctly, you can get from one end of that challenge to the other without having to stop.
Yeah,
We'll see. I have to gather a bunch of vapor to make this happen.
okay.
Okay, while you're gathering
Yeah,
vapor,
maybe
I'm just going to get a glass of water. Give me 1 sec.
That's a-okay.
Sure. I forget because again on the nuance subject, there was for quite a while at least you could like toss volatile resin up in the air and it would kind of like pause the cooldown. But I feel like that kind of got tuned in a different way towards the end.
I think if you toss it while it's in the air, it doesn't generate charge, but the bug that was there for a while where if you there's a bug where if you catch it again, it would actually make it.
Yeah, like you could get it stuck.
It would get stuck. It wouldn't generate resin, but I think it still doesn't charge when it's in the air. We did that specifically so that players would have a bit more of a grace period after they've launched the resin, just so you don't like get within like a hair's breadth and like you launched it and then it explodes in midair. That's just like, I don't know. That's not fun.
Well, yeah, that's always been there. But I remember early versions of the cleft in the Far Shore. Like, there's a kind of that's when you first encounter the resin mechanics, and yeah, the earlier versions of that we kind of had like an alternate solution built in where you could like just toss the resin over elsewhere and then pick it up to like keep the.
I think you technically still
timer
can
down.
do that in the cleft in particular because everywhere is made of the inhibitor spume material.
Yeah, there's like the special pools.
Yeah.
Okay, you're going to show us how to do this.
Okay. Let's see if I can make this happen.
So you're gonna... Okay.
Okay, so you've got full ash?
Yep, we've got a full ash
Tank.
tank. Ah, shoot. Hold on. Let's restart that because iron pools also clear your vapor tank. So this is actually not
Right.
necessarily the easiest thing in the world to accomplish.
Yeah.
Speaking of...
I haven't done that much work with what's it?
The lava.
Exploiting the ash, the lava ash. So
Yeah, the ash tank is like definitely a fun bit. I'm still very curious. I really want to get that. Patrick and I had talked about like potentially getting a speedrun race going with between me, him, and well, we're just gonna.
I think you lost.
I lost the tank again. I think that unfortunately, okay, now it's not active anymore, so we should be good to go. Let's do that one more time. And then if it doesn't work, we'll just move on to the next tank.
Yeah, it's I mean, those pools, I think that it's something like if you pop it or if it gets kind of stirred up, then it
it's like if it
emanates the stuff
feels
that
a force.
Kind of gives. That's like another thing that, again, like you probably only find out by digging into the research materials. But yeah, like it also kind of supercharges your shield, right? Like it kind of.
Yeah, it gives you like a supercharged shield for an amount of time.
Yeah, but again, lots of iteration happens, and there were times when it was more of an automatic thing.
Yeah, you got it.
All right.
Let's see it. Oh my.
I think we're gonna.
Okay.
Oh. 13,
Says,
11, 10, 9.
I lost the island.
You got turned around, but no, you would have made it, I think.
Yeah, no, I would have made it, but the island, I missed the island because I didn't have
now that it's already been solved, it's harder to spot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's right here.
Well,
so you can just barely make it there. But yeah, so that's Ozu. I think we've been to Spires before. We can go do those eggs, but I think I want to go do the carved eggs.
Sounds good.
Also, another fun fact: you can dash roll through the middle of a brine wisp fister and get a ton of vapor.
Yeah, or just chill out in them. They are just kind of vapor factories.
Yep. That, and I think what we call the vapor geysers. I don't remember if they had a different name.
Yeah, the ones that show up in
Twilight
or
Glowing.
yeah, they do have a different name. I forget what it is.
No. Oh, I did not realize that we were in like late twilight. Well, we'll have to go find a shelter real quick.
Well, yeah, us kind of knowing there is one.
There's one puzzle here that requires the gloaming.
Yeah, it might be good timing to check that
Yeah,
one
we
out.
can check out that lotus.
Were there any gloaming lotuses in turkey eggs? Yeah, I think there were.
Yeah,
there?
there's one. There's the one on West Sosi Massif in the Fjordy area. That's like the primary row over on that side of the island.
And just to clarify for those potentially watching, so a gloaming lotus is something that will only bloom in the gloaming when things are quite dangerous. So there's a similar egg over here, which we happen to know, and it happens to be that time. So Zach's gonna try and.
Yeah, this one I think even particularly because we're in the kind of especially tougher section, I think it has an even.
It's a late start.
More, yeah.
I remember this one originally was like real late, but I think it's a little earlier now, just because it's a lot to deal with both the gloaming's effects as well as dealing with an egg, where the other one is kind of like more early gloaming / late twilight kind of vibes.
Yeah, and another key thing being just kind of playtest clarity, where it was when it's gloaming and it says it's active in the gloaming or it's like late night, and other things that you've encountered like this have
Ooh.
kind of. Anyway, so
We did
just
rename this the
read more as a
Dreadfloro.
bug to people. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, we did kind of try to clarify things.
And one thing that that I think took me a while before I really kind of understood how to read it was the that scope, the sort of the lines on there showing you sort of the energy state of this thing, you know, that yeah.
Yeah.
So I think this one, the kind of yellowish line at the bottom, is the one that's kind of indicating it's open vibes.
Mhm.
So this one seems like it's still not close to ready. So
We're gonna go and I think we're gonna go chill at the shelter up here, and we're gonna go. I think there's a shelter up here anyway.
I wonder if there's.
It looks like the shelter's gone.
Whoa.
That's something to probably take note of for later. We're gonna go to the other shelter.
Is it a? Is that a? I thought it was like.
That should.
It didn't look unintentional, so it's like.
I don't know.
I wouldn't be surprised if that was just a change that was made, but I'll double check.
I played recently and I saw that too, and I assumed.
Yeah, so like that's certainly interesting. But luckily there's also another handy little shelter not too far out from there over here. So this one is definitely one of the trickier ones to deal with, because as the name alludes to, we will be engaging with the dread wave a little bit more than we want to.
Yeah, it's a close call.
Oops, I just slept till twilight instead of gloaming.
Well, we can go do other.
Maybe yeah, we could.
The row.
I'll just sleep again. You know, keep on the pattern of double naps.
I took a few naps today.
Gotta get. Yeah.
I mean,
Naps are good.
definitely as I found that naps are very useful. They're definitely a nice thing to have.
Indeed.
I can't think of a lot of other games that just like, you know, have this take a nap function. Like, no, that's not true. There's definitely some, but the
Most
way
of
that it's
them- Yeah, they're presented as like you're passing time instead of like you're going to sleep.
yeah, but I like that Jet's just like, yeah, park your car and have a nap.
Oh man, this.
Oh yeah, it's not like necessarily intended to be double napping all the time.
Yeah, this the red glow, like even now it still stresses me out. I see this and I'm like, I am going to have to deal with.
I will say though, the interesting thing about the sort of sleep mechanics, especially when you're kind of learning the frequency and the rhythm of the world, they allow you to kind of experiment a little bit. Like, you know, we know how all these systems work, but when I first discovered the phosphine activated Goka blooms in is that on Soci Massive? Like that puzzle, it took me a while to figure out, oh, when does phosphines come? Oh, they come at this time. You know, it's good to be able to experiment and be like, okay, no, I'm gonna try this in the morning. I'm gonna try this in the evening, or specifically, I know I have a big run to do, so oh, you know what? Maybe I'll pick up some extra vapor at twilight or what have you. So I don't know. It's a cool function, and it makes for the world just feeling that much more alive and having these systems that interact by time of day. And as we can see, the line is going up.
Line go up.
Line go up.
Line go up.
Line go down. Egg hatches. Let's go.
Yeah.
We're
And
in
you can
full
see in the,
gloaming.
Yep.
We've got 2 manta nests, an eel. We've got a shock serpent down in this space to deal with, and no scramjets basically.
No scramjets. You got to get this thing to the ocean in a hurry, and then you got to get to shelter before.
Oh, we got a phosphine too. This is always a stressful egg. Oh, that's fascinating. I've not actually seen that. Apparently, the force from the explosion of the eruption. That's fun.
Yeah, it's funny. I think like through all of our playing of this game, we've never encountered that.
Yeah, I've never encountered that before. That just is delightful to me. To actually see, like, 'cause that's one of those things, like, the systems
the timing of it is quite, quite precise. So
it's one of those things where, there's a lot of systems at play in, the engine that drives Jet in general, and everything is engaging with it differently, but they're all working with, like, a force is still a force. And so if all forces interact with, or most forces, I think almost all forces
Zack,
will
you're
interact
stressing
with
me
this.
out. Just get the egg to the water, please.
I'm working
Focus.
on it. Okay.
Focus. Less talk, more do.
Yeah.
What?
Can we get a gloaming
definitely...
check? Gloaming check not looking good. Okay. Ah!
Go. What you...
But it's very pretty.
Stop stressing Richard out. But yeah, that was a great kind of part of the at times very like something we struggled with a lot is so many bugs, quote unquote, encountered by things kind of just behaving systemically, like what's it? I guess even kind of later on, right, Zach, there was we'd just find griefers that were just very, very interested in whirls, and they would kind of like stir up the whirls, and then the griefer would be like interacting with the whirls and like cause them to trigger and like refresh their interest. And anyway, it was like things that we had to do a lot more kind of gating of like, well, we do want this to trigger stuff and like stir stuff up, but we had to get more and more precise and specific about what exactly what things cared about what and stuff like that.
How they care about it as well, because it's like, a whirl, it'll probably trigger, or a whirl will trigger a griefer, but we don't want the griefer to stay interested in the whirl, because it's like those are part of their normal ecosystem. Oh man, we're gonna chill here for a moment.
It wasn't that close, but it was close enough that it stressed me out.
I mean, I know how long it takes for the dread wave to come, so it's a little bit of. I was having a little bit of fun there, but this is one of the most stressful.
At Richard's expense.
I apologize. I'll treat you to a drink at some point in the future.
The sound design of the Dreadwave is just so good too. That like it is, it just works.
Oh yeah,
it just works.
I actually really like hanging out here and also on the west side of Sosi and just like watching the Dreadwave, like, so because we're in safety at this point, we're protected, so we can actually. One of the fun pieces about this is we can actually watch the Dreadwave wash over us. And then we can actually start our day earlier than we could if we went to sleep by pulling an all-nighter.
Yeah, you can just pull an all-nighter. Heck, you could pop out, have a picnic, catch some rays. I don't know.
Yeah, it's not
get a good
something.
Dreadwave 10.
Yeah, post Dreadwave.
Post Dreadwave, though.
Forget how quickly the gloaming kind of ramps down after the Dreadwave.
I think after the Dreadwave,
there might still be some gloaming.
A little bit of gloaming, but it's not too much. It doesn't last too much further past the dread. Here it comes.
There we go.
And that's the first part of it, and now we got the more deadly aspect.
Whew.
It's always real weird to like watch that go by because it's just like this thing is dread inspiring.
Yeah.
Just let it go for a little longer and then
Just to be sure. Just to be sure. Yeah.
okay. I think
There
we're
you
gonna go do the not mistaken, there should be
There's a Swift Hector, is there not?
a Swift Hector somewhere around here. He might not. Oh wait, they sleep during the gloaming, like sensible people do. So I'm gonna go and hop over to the what looks like some eyeballs. So I'm expecting this to be another Ocloid.
Ocloid jam.
Yeah, or we can take this Phosphine for a ride and go get that Void Goat loop that I noticed over here. I'm gonna do that real quick. Nope. I hear him.
Did you lose them?
Still here. They're still. I think it's because we went up and over. Yeah, there we go. Got their attention again. Oh, this shock serpent is always
Nice.
Yeah. Staying up past the Dreadwave, well, it is fun. It is also. Oh.
What's
We've
that little
got
dude?
Hello, Skulk.
Gulk.
They've stolen one of our shings. Get back here with that.
It's a rare skulk sighting.
That's mine. Oh, they got away. Well,
I'm glad they snuck their way back into the game.
most of the work was done on them, so I really wanted to bring them back, so we brought them back. I think we should be out of
Yeah, it
gloaming.
looks like the gloaming has it
Abided.
subsided.
So we'll go tackle whatever this has in store for us.
So I'm pretty psyched about the verified for Steam Deck, Patrick. That's awesome.
That's exciting. That actually makes me want to get a Steam Deck more than I already wanted one.
Yeah, it's I was really glad to get it running well on the Steam Deck, and yeah, I really had a lot of fun playing through on the Steam Deck. So it's a great fit.
You know,
Yeah.
I wonder, is the Steam Deck dock out yet?
Yeah, I have one.
I believe so.
Okay. That could be fun to try and run the final stream off of the dock. Or off of a deck.
Keep in mind the it runs at 30 FPS on the deck.
Yeah.
It runs a good 30, a
Yeah.
steady 30. But yeah.
Oh, we really screwed up on that. This ice is not something that the jet is able to grip on well.
Zach, what is going on here, man? It's getting sloppy.
Oh yes, it's all right. I think we just need to. This one's always actually kind of like tripped me up a little bit, just because it's a lot of
Yeah,
you know,
it's not It's not an easy one.
It's smooth, but it's like not super smooth.
Right.
Well, it sounds like we got enough active at once that we were able to get.
Yeah. Because there's much less shelter from the occluids in this situation, so you really gotta.
And there we go.
Nice.
And we should have a nice early start on the Swift Hector for Copt.
Yeah.
So I see 1, 2, we have about 4 or 5 left.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we'll do all 5 tonight.
I think we'll probably...
I think the plan was to leave a handful, so
yeah.
We could at least finish up the cob ones.
Yep, get that Swift Hector. I really like scooting around on the surface of Coved when the sun's out. It's it really gives me, obviously snowboarding vibes, but
yeah,
looks cool.
I'll get a little bit of the motif of the Gorgon Kolos, or the Gorgon Kolos coming in from that egg. That's a fun little...
Indeed.
Ooh. Someone's launched a firework. Let's go. I remember, so this particular pathing for this Swift Hector changed fairly late in development, where we reversed, we kind of took the course and we flipped the direction that the Hector went around in. Because originally it was a really, really long course, and then we ended up shifting to be a bit shorter, just because it's a bit punishing if you happen to fail it really far on.
Yeah, and actually this one I remember being, well, maybe I played an earlier iteration, but it is challenging, to maintain your momentum for that distance. I remember it being kind of challenging. The route itself is pretty chill, but it's about making sure you thread the needle and pick up vapor along the way to keep your momentum up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's more of a stamina.
Yeah, it's a bit of a stamina challenge.
Some of the others.
Each one of these guys has a different color trail as well that contrasts with the environment a bit more than the standard. I think they all originally had a white trail, but then we ended up shifting it up at some point during development, specifically because these trails are very useful for kind of tracking where they go if you happen to lose sight of them. So I figured, why not bring it up, especially here where it's the terrain is mostly a white terrain, it's just ash and snow covered.
Yep.
It's the white on white is kind of hard to see what's going on.
Love this track.
Me too.
My
Every time.
wife was so kind of disappointed that it didn't feature in the main release, so I'm glad that we have it. Kind of comes in as the kind of the new title music in the Given Time release. So
it's on 2 of the 4 Swift Hectors in Given Time as well, and it's just it's just so super vibey.
And it's very, very sweeping, very, very, very cinematic, and it really does suit these races, especially when you're kind of going over areas you maybe have been, and sort of, it really works well. I'd be curious. I mean, I think only once or twice on a stream with Zack did I kind of get a behind the scenes and how a lot of the terrain was built. But yeah, I'd be curious to hear maybe a little bit high level about that process, like what sort of tools, what sort of systems you guys were using to sort of build these terrain systems.
Yeah, I guess the main secret is a lot of it kind of has an underpinning from like satellite data, so it's like very like real actual terrain, and there's a bunch kind of like tweaking and sculpting on top of that, but kind of has that kind of base underpinning there.
Cool. So you guys like used height maps from
yeah.
Any particular locations, or was it more just you were just looking for interesting sort of typology, or was
there's some specifically, I think like Spires is one of like the most interesting ones. It's I don't know if you've heard of Ship Rock. I think it's in the Midwest. I'd have to double check, but it's kind of, I think, adjacent to Monument Valley, and it's like there is an amazing kind of geological structure of like a big kind of spike with like some weird like wake line or like wake ridge lines coming off of it.
Yes. Okay, and then I know what you're talking about. Yeah, that's cool.
And then
I think
there's some.
There it is. You guys compressed it considerably. Like you made it, smaller.
Yeah.
But, cool. Sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But yeah, and I think a lot of the others have kind of underpinnings from the Hawaiian Islands. So.
Very cool.
Yeah, that was a fun. It was way early in the project, just kind of doing a bunch of Google Maps tourism, looking for interesting areas that interesting structures. So, whoa, we got some. Is this Yuletide or not Yuletide? What's the Soul Tide?
I think it's I think it might be the Soul Tide, and it's like May's part, and it's kind of like the idea of just like we're way out we're way out here, and just kind of like
extreme wilderness.
Thinking just existing.
I think it might also get reprised in the kind of vigil at kind of the end of the far shore.
I think you might be right.
Before the scouts go to torpor, yeah. Anyway,
it's a bit of a somber vibe.
We can talk on the language in Priscilla and the choral part stuff that we've kind of touched on in the past, but it's adds a key vibe to things.
It gives the culture a lot of credibility is the wrong word, but it gives it enough weight, that you kind of buy into these people's reasons for being here, and this interesting dichotomy of science and faith. I think that was really interesting needle you guys thread on this one. That is tricky to do tastefully, I think, and you made it look easy, sort of balancing those two things, and how some members of the crew are, lean one way or the other, but there's this sort of even a little bit of tension there, but at the end of the day, there's this kind of respect, like they're here, they're doing this, they've traveled 1,000 years, and these are the tools they have, and they've got to make it work. It's cool.
Yeah.
Back on.
Yeah, definitely. Like, are we heading to spires?
We are. We're taking a bit of a long journey because we have to get from Cobb to the spires, but
Going direct from Cobb is
a little longer.
a nice ocean trek.
Oh yeah, this is a good one.
Okay, what do we got? We've got the looks like we've got another hawk, another orncolos. Then we've got something going on over there. It looks like it might be another swift hector. I think we can probably finish up these two and then probably wrap up.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah, we'll wrap up these two, and then I think we'll call it a night. But these two are cool. Yeah.
This one's a little
Oh wow,
interesting.
making that look easy.
I mean, and then I go in there.
And then you beefed it, but
ooh, we knocked it out with a goat bloom blast.
yeah. Yeah,
Let's
actually,
go
you did make that look easy.
Let's go bloom.
Yeah, those are tricky because if you don't catch them at like great timing like that, they can kind of fly a bit off, and you gotta kind of like wait for them to patrol back.
Yep, and I've definitely found myself. I've climbed up there in the past, and based on the timing, his nibs started flying away. So yeah, like he is now, and I ended up trying to hover all the way out there, and I eventually caught him. But it was a very different experience for me several times.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's I happened to just catch the orncolos at the right exact time. Fun fact: if you jump right here, you can actually get high enough to grab the row from its grasps. It's like, and I think this one also spends a little bit of time around the other part of spires, like the other like spire of spires, and low enough that you'll be able to reach it. But yeah, we're gonna tackle this swift hector. Let's start this race. See if we can keep up. Yeah, we've got a yellow trail. I feel like this is in Memorandum of Jones a little bit. Oh boy, we've got a little.
I've got a Skype hookup on my end.
Oh, we are good to go.
We're back.
We had a little bit of a game hiccup.
Okay, it's
an interesting one, but it didn't crash, so we're good, right?
Yep.
So
yeah, I just wonder.
And like many of the swift hectors, we get a little tour of this particular zone. I really like spires. I think Ozu is definitely my personal favorite island. I love the vivid colors and what have you. But something about spires is very cool too. I think it's growing on me as a good number two.
I mean, as part of it, it's always felt that it feels kind of like a Star Destroyer, but that's just me.
A little bit, I can see that.
Yeah.
It's like, nope, you thought you were done. We're not done. Back over the water.
Yep. It's a big aspect of this one.
Oh, spicy tank.
We got a spicy tank and we're going fast. Let's get some more speed boosts. Ooh,
it doesn't stack.
Oh, we are low on health. I'm gonna keep going. We're gonna run this a little dangerously.
You might want to avoid the speed boosts.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they are not necessarily kind to the jet.
Yeah, if the shield's already down.
I mean, I'm gonna keep the speed boost on. We're playing
this section school.
We're living a little dangerously. Ooh, we're going over here. He's trying to juke me. Let's not get so close to there that we activate. Oh. Made it. Just barely.
Excellent.
Well done.
Excellent.
Well done, Zach. You make it look easy.
I mean, comes with the territory of having played these puzzles hundreds of times each.
Yeah.
One last little communique. So mysterious. Very cool.
Let's get our
Heal
jet.
up your jet. Yep.
We'll go. Actually, you know what? Let's go. We're good enough health now.
So, where are the last brine wisps? If you open up your resonator and take a little look-see, we've got them where, or check your map for that matter, maybe.
I think we've just got Soci Massive left for the ones that we currently have access to. I'm gonna hop over to the shelter just to take some. I'm just gonna hang out here for a bit while we heal and.
So before we wrap up, kind of a bummer that the Steam chat seemed down today. Would have been nice to get some questions from folks, but hopefully it'll be up and running the next time. And we'll be going over the kind of the end of the game. So definitely some more spoilers, or if you want to be caught up by then, I would suggest that's a good idea. And other than that, the news this week, we got great on deck verified. So the game is running really well on deck, and the Far Shore runs great, as does Given Time. But I must say, the sort of vibe that you're seeing Zack play Given Time really works well on the deck. This sort of pick up and play where you can dip in, do a brine wisp, hatch some roe, and then come back later. It's just it's a nice sort of momentum. And sometimes, I mean, people may refer to this video we've recorded for sort of some walkthrough purposes, but sometimes just, you know, you're cracking your head against one, you just can't seem to figure out, and then you come back later and you're like, ah, yes, this is it. So I think the Steam Deck is a good platform for that sort of thinking. And finally, another reminder: leave more reviews, please. It's good for the algorithm, and the more reviews we have, the better Steam does at sort of pushing the game out to more folks. And we really want more folks to experience and check this one out. So please leave a review if you haven't yet. It is greatly appreciated. Or, you know, a kind word on Twitter or anything like that. We're really interested to see what people think. And thanks to the community that has been helping us track down the last couple bugs, and just basically giving us feedback. It's been fantastic. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Zach. Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you, Richard.
Awesome as always.
Yeah.
Yeah, been great.
Yeah, it's been a good time.
Yeah,
cool.
Got one leg left on the map, and then it looks like we've got. I think I'm blocking it, but we've got one more egg after this last one. Just a little sneak peek. We'll probably also, before we get to that last egg, do a little bit of exploration next week of just vibing around the world. I think that'll be fun.
Yep. Cool.
So.
And I'm gonna bug Craig about the lava waterfall, because I need to know now. It sounds like maybe there's a story there. Who knows?
Maybe.
Okay.
Well, catch you later. Peace.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.